Okay, think about this for a second. How do you really find out about new stuff these days? New products, trends, services? Chances are it's probably not from watching TV ads, right? Or
Yeah.
flipping through magazines. It's more likely bubbling up on your social media feed, maybe from someone who feels, well, kind of like you. Okay, let's unpack this because we're seeing a pretty fundamental shift in how influence actually works online. What's really fascinating, I think, is how our trust seems to be moving away from those big, super polished celebrity names towards voices that feel more, I don't know, relatable every day almost. So today we're doing a deep dive into this surprising truth about influence, specifically looking at the rise of micro-influencers.
Mm.
And our insights for this conversation are drawn from a couple of recent articles, one called The Rise of Micro-Influencers and another titled The Rise of Micro-Influencers and What It Means for Employee Advocacy.
Yeah.
Our goal here, by the end of this, you'll get a really clear picture of who these micro-influencers are, why they're suddenly so powerful for brands. And hey, you might even start spotting some surprising micro-influencers already in your own orbit.
Yeah, and if you connect that to the bigger picture, it really boils down to authenticity. It seems like people, consumers, they just aren't that impressed by perfect anymore. They want recommendations that feel real, relatable, maybe even refreshingly imperfect. Which naturally raises a big question. Why does having a smaller following often seem to lead to more actual impact?
That's exactly it. It feels backwards, doesn't it? Because when you first hear influencer, your mind probably still jumps to, celebrity endorsements or those huge creators, the Kardashians, James Charles, people with just millions and millions of followers. And yeah, sure, those mega influencers, they definitely have massive reach. They can create a lot of noise. But what seems to be happening now is that people are finding it harder, maybe, harder to really trust those huge names, those ultra-polished Instagram feeds, the celebrity who suddenly loves a product. Sometimes the engagement just feels a bit, well, off.
Yeah.
Manufactured, maybe. It really does feel like that era of the totally unattainable, flawless influencer is starting to fade.
It's a definite shift, a recalibration, and that vacuum, that's exactly where micro-influencers are stepping in. So definition-wise, they've got a smaller audience. Typically, people say somewhere between like 1,000 and 10,000 followers. Though, yeah, some sources stretch that definition a bit, maybe up to 50,000 even for micro. But the number isn't the whole story. The crucial part is they operate within a very specific niche. I mean, whatever you're into could be fly fishing, vintage synths, artisan bread making, you name it. There's probably a micro-influencer creating content about it. They're not just shouting into the void, they're having actual conversations, real back and forth with these dedicated little communities who genuinely care about what they have to say.
It still seems so counterintuitive, though. A smaller voice making a bigger splash.
Yeah.
So what is it? What's the secret sauce behind that impact?
Well, fundamentally, it comes down to one key thing: engagement. Real engagement. Micro-influencers, they boast an average engagement rate around 6%. Now, that might not sound huge on its own, but it's the highest rate across all creator types. Yeah, compare that. The Influencer Marketing Hub's 2024 report, it found that micro-influencers, so those under 50K followers, they generate engagement rates that are 60% higher than macro-influencers. So that smaller audience size, it isn't really a drawback. It's actually their strength. It lets them have genuine, like one-on-one interactions, real comments, actual conversations, shares. Not just those passive drive-by likes. It's not only about eyeballs, it's about starting conversations that build trust and, eventually lead someone to take action. Those comments and shares, that's gold. It shows people are actively interested, not just scrolling past.
Yeah.
And brands are definitely noticing something like 48% of them say that the creator's actual relationship with their audience, that's the most important factor for a good partnership.
Right, and that points straight to what you mentioned earlier, trust and relatability. People see these micro-influencers as, well, as real people, honest, trustworthy, or someone like them. And the numbers back this up. Apparently, a huge 82% of consumers say they're more likely to follow a recommendation from a micro-influencer over a big celebrity. Just think about your own experience, right? Are you more likely to trust a detailed laptop review from some niche tech YouTuber you follow, or a kind of vague, oh, I just love my new gadget post from a mainstream celebrity? It feels obvious. And this is especially true for younger people. I saw that 70% of teens trust creator content more than a celebrity endorsement. So yeah, it really seems like authenticity just winning out over sheer reach these days.
Absolutely. And beyond that trust factor, there's another really practical advantage: affordability,
Yeah.
and that leads to better ROI for brands. Because they have smaller audiences, micro-influencers just cost less to partner with, significantly less. You might be looking at, say, an average of $100 to $500 for a partnership. Sometimes they'll even work just for free products, depending on the fit. And that lower cost per influencer, it means brands can change their strategy. They don't have to put all their eggs in one basket. They can partner with several micro-influencers instead of just one mega one. That lets them reach different pockets of their target audience more effectively and potentially get a much better return on investment, even with a smaller overall budget.
Okay, now here's a stat that really blew my mind. Apparently, 77% of all brand partnership now are with micro-influencers. That's just huge. It feels like it completely flips the old model on its head. You know, the one where brands just chase the biggest follower counts. This isn't just some small trend. It feels like a fundamental shift in where marketing money is going. It really proves that for brands, the quality of that connection is beating the sheer quantity of eyeballs. So, given all that, the big question for any brand listening must be, how do you actually find these people, these gems in the, digital haystack?
That is the crucial question, isn't it? Finding those gems amongst, well, a sea of creators. And it really means looking beyond those surface-level vanity metrics, like just the follower count, which honestly doesn't tell you much about real influence. You have to focus on finding genuine credibility and connection. So first, figure out the right platform. Where does your audience hang out? Where do you want to grow? TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Amazon, LinkedIn, even Twitter. Find creators there. Then look for some kind of track record. Have they worked with brands before? How did it go? And maybe more importantly, find creators whose style you actually like, their content, their humor, their vibe. Does it resonate with your brand? Alignment on values is huge too. If you're, say, a vegan food company, you obviously want to partner with creators who genuinely live and promote a vegan lifestyle, right? Not someone who just takes the paycheck.
Yeah, and the legitimate creators, they should be perfectly willing to share their audience data demographics, real engagement stats.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not just the numbers. 30% engagement rate on an audience of 5,000, that's probably way more valuable than a passive, disengaged audience of 50,000.
Yeah.
You want to actually see the conversation happening in the comment section, real interaction, and maybe do a little scrolling back through their history. See if they consistently post about the industry or topic. Are they genuinely passionate, or are they just jumping on viral trends, looking for a quick brand deal? That authenticity check is key. And these micro-influencers, they create all sorts of content, right? Like product in action videos, testimonials, unboxings are popular.
Yeah.
But also just good photography, product shots, lifestyle photos, even portraits featuring the product naturally.
Exactly. Which brings us to maybe the most interesting and often completely overlooked group of potential micro-influencers, your own employees.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. So many brands seem to miss this incredibly valuable, untapped network they already have right inside their own walls.
Okay, so you're saying the definition of influencer is getting even broader. It's not just social media stars, but maybe people you work with, people who are experts in a specific field.
Precisely. Many employees, especially in certain industries, they already have niche followings. Think about LinkedIn, maybe GitHub for developers, Medium for writers, even industry-specific forums or Twitter circles. They already have trust and credibility built up within their professional field because they actually do the work. They understand the nuances. It's not like a celebrity just saying, oh yeah, I love this product, you guys. It comes from a place of real expertise. Plus, employees have a vested interest in the company doing well, sure, but they also have their own professional reputation to maintain. That inherent factor makes their advocacy, when it's genuine, feel much more credible than, a heavily scripted ad.
Wow, okay. That adds a whole other layer to this.
It really does. And the bottom line, sort of weaving all these threads together, is that real influence today. It isn't really about having the most followers anymore. It's about meaningful engagement, it's about deep trust, and it's about credibility that feels earned. And all of that is built on authenticity. Those specific niches, they matter way more than trying to appeal to everyone. And genuine conversations, that back and forth, that consistently outperforms a polished one-way promotion. It's almost like the internet has kind of brought back old school word of mouth, hasn't it? Just amplified digitally at a massive scale.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so maybe a final thought for everyone listening. The next time you see a recommendation pop up somewhere on your feed, in an article, wherever, just take a beat. Ask yourself, do I actually believe this person? Does this recommendation feel truly authentic? And if the answer is no, well, maybe you've just found a little clue about where real influence actually lies today. And chances are it might be a lot closer and look a lot different than you thought.